Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Remote, the Connected Faculty Summit. My name is Kelvin Bentley, and I serve as the Vice President of Learning Strategies with a company called Six Red Marbles. We help schools, institutions build digital learning content for courses and online programs. We're really excited to be one of the sponsors of this amazing event. I'll be today's moderator. And just before we get started, in terms of introducing our speaker today, just a couple of things. You'll notice on the left-hand side of your screen, there are two buttons, one for chatting. Some of you have already accessed that button. Feel free to say hello and introduce yourself. If you do have questions, though, please use the Q&A button, which is to the immediate right of the chat button. That's where our presenter and myself will do our best to track some of your questions, and we'll address those with about 5 or 10 minutes left in today's presentation. Please know that the event, that this particular presentation is being recorded. It is live, and a recording will be made available hopefully within 24 hours of today's session. And with that, I'd love to now introduce today's speaker. And her name is Susan Holecheck. And the title of her presentation is Using an Adaptive Active Model to Promote Student Success. Take it away, Susan.
Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon for some of you. Thank you very much for the invitation, and welcome everybody to Remote. So today I'm going to give you an example of how at ASU, particularly my class, I have to adapt from an in-person class directly to an online in less than 72 hours. So at ASU, for Bio 100, which is a class for non-majors, these are students that do not want to be biologists. They are studying different degrees. Before we adapted this adaptive active model a while ago, we have persistence, like a withdrawal rate of 10%, which then later changed to 1.5% after, the implementation of this model. The same thing was reflected when we look into the performance grade, so a grade C or better. Clearly, we saw that using this adaptive active model, we have a 94% success of students getting a C grade or above. And these are the results that we got so far. So we are comparing, we started in 2014. This was our in-person normal lecture style classroom. And you can see the difference before they adapted, 77, 72%. And once this model was implemented, we went to almost like a 90% performance with a grade C or better. Now, this took a lot of work, a lot of effort from the faculty at the School of Life Sciences that we joined together in order to give our students, a curriculum that will help them succeed through their, through their long semester at ASU with Bio 100. So how are we changing the student experience? I think everybody is familiar with this type of classrooms. We teach Bio 100, again, is a class that holds 450 students. It's like a movie theater auditorium, and you can see the students. They are engaged with their laptops. Sometimes they're taking notes with their iPads. And, from the point of view of the instructor, when you're looking at the class, it's like, okay, who needs help? What do they need help with? And what's the best way to help, right? So how do I reach those students who may be needing an extra hand in order to understand these biology topics, which, as I may recall, they are not science majors. So we use what we call an adaptive active model. So the adaptive is because we use an interface, user interface experience in which we have an e-textbook that has activities, and it has also support for assessments. And we use a platform, an adaptive learning technology called Codebooks, which I think is one of the sponsors for Remote as well. And in the active classroom, so we have especially designated environments in which the students, they don't see each other now, the 450, but now they're able to work in groups of 8, a maximum of 8 students per table, and they are able to engage with each other. And I'm bringing now these hands-on activities to this classroom that is going to help them understand some of the topics that they learn by reviewing not only the textbook, but also some of the Maddie's points that I may have identified after they follow the guidelines and the activities that were the homework for that weekend. So how does this work in practice? Again, our adaptive system is our textbook platform that has the activities, it has the pre-reading quizzes. And while they are there, and we have these assignments actually due on Sunday at 11:59, students are able to open the e-textbook, they can watch videos, there are video lectures embedded. They can do simulations, they can do activities, and they can also, by doing these pre-reading quizzes, it allows me to identify, okay, when 50% of my students are missing this particular question, even though the system is giving them a couple of attempts. So it's very helpful for me to kind of like sense the pulse of the class. And again, this happens Sunday at midnight when everything is due. But this helps me on Monday morning to kind of, okay, take a look. What is not working and what should I focus my class on Monday? And on Monday, I see the 450 students all together in a similar classroom as what you saw before in the picture. And then during the rest of the week, they are further divided in smaller groups where they can work with instructional assistants, grad students, and myself. So when we are in this active classroom, which is going to be small, we have all these nice whiteboards all around. They are going to be able to discuss and apply problems with their classmates. They are also going to be able to work in quizzes, work as pairs, work in groups of 3. Maybe, yes, the whole table if we have a debate, for example, about vaccinations, etc. So we try to make this as engaging as possible, and the students have shown that they like it. They feel, connected to the instructors and the instructional aides, because now I'm able not to see them from far away, but I'm able to walk around their tables, interact with them, guide them through the exercises. And the same thing with my team of amazing instructional aides that work with me as well. So my class looks like a very typical class. We have labs, which for Bio 100, these are online labs. We have exams. And for every single week, we have access to this active learning classroom in which they're going to be working in smaller groups. So what's the benefit of this flip model? So the way I see it, I like it a lot because allows the students to do kind of like the basics of Bloom taxonomy at their own pace. This adaptive platform allows them to make mistakes. And if they make mistakes, it will recommend, okay, well, maybe you need extra help. And then it will recommend maybe a video. It will recommend a different page, a supplementary page that the students will read again at their own pace and then attempt the question again until they get it right. So all these basics of understanding and remembering will happen by then using this adaptive platform. And then once that happens, now I guide my students in my active learning classrooms where they can apply, analyze, evaluate. They even do creative projects at the end of the semester. They always, amaze me for the things they're able to do. These are very creative students that are enjoying the class, and you can see that in their final projects. So my class kind of looks like that. So the benefit that I see it is that I can take an in-depth look at how students are learning. I can focus on the Maddie's point for the week. Students are going to master the concepts at their own pace. And that allows me as faculty to give me extra time to think about, okay, they didn't understand this topic. what I can design for them to help them hands-on understand that better. So this picture is very interesting because, I always try to design activities in class that are low cost, but that they have a big impact in the students. And they will always appreciate that because maybe they didn't understand something, a concept that week, but once we go and they're hands-on working with their peers, they say, okay, I get it now. I understand this. And I'm able to solve a problem. And they were able to explain these biological concepts, in lay terms to their peers as well. So just to give you an example, I create activities for them every week. Again, these are low cost, big impact. We do the role of pigments, for example. We do DNA extraction. They're always very happy because they are, they're able to touch DNA after the extraction, and they're like taking all these pictures and videos. I do forensics. I created these activities, Who Kidnapped Sparky? If you are from ASU, you know who Sparky is. That's our mascot. So I put this picture and say, okay, who did it? Who kidnapped Sparky during this football game? So let's find out. We also do immunology basics. So this is actually a real case study when my daughter had to go to the ER. So I just, whatever they brought in the ER, I brought that to class in, several slides and tell, okay, who can tell me what was the disease? So it's very engaging. And again, I love to provide these activities for them every week in order for them to understand their topics. So this is the result for fall 2019. And, everything, this is pre-COVID. Everything ran smoothly so far. So good grades, students, love the class. I never curve in my class. So these grades are not curved. This is their actual, results. But then, spring break came, and then I have this 72-hour challenge, how to bring these 450 students. Now they're moving online, and I have 8 weeks to go. How do I do this active learning online? So I'm going to try to put a side-by-side comparison. So this is what we will do in class, engage, right? And then online, when we went into the Zoom and world, I also will ask students questions. These were live synchronously sessions that were recorded and then also later posted on Canvas for them. So we do Zoom poll. Is the turning point wasn't working? These were students that they were moving from in-person to online. They didn't have a lot of time to adapt, like many of us that have to be involved in this online world. But they try to mimic what I did in class, but also in person. So engage, explore, you may wonder, okay, how are they going to be doing this? I remember going to, the grocery store and buying, my different types of milk for this particular experiment. I have my testing strips. So we were doing the things online, in front of them with the camera. I took good pictures so they were able to tell me, okay, how many crosses do you see? What's the concentration of protein? What's the concentration of glucose? And these were all through the chat. So students were still very engaged during these Zoom meetings. So in class, we explain, right? We have our instructional aides helping the students. We also have my instructional aides helping, during the breakout rooms and also answering the questions that the students may have during the chat as well. In class, we do elaborate, evaluate. So I also design handouts for them that accompany these activities. So if this will be done in person, now that we're online, they will be in the breakout rooms, working with their particular group from that table, right? And they will be answering exactly the same questions. And those were due, instead of at the end of the day, I will give them until the following day, because I understand that students may not be experts in technology, especially with such maybe 3 days to adapt. So what about the results? Okay, so I have to change everything in like about 3 days. So I was kind of a bit scared because my class was always, have very good standing, so how would that translate to moving everything online? So I want to show you now, this is the side-by-side comparisons. So you saw the results from fall 2019, and these are the results for spring 2020, which, right after moving online with my students. So what about other classes? Their challenges, right? We have synchronous classes versus asynchronous. If you're teaching online, for example, and if your lectures are pre-recorded, in-person versus online. And what about large enrollment classes? Like Bio 100 is a large enrollment classes. But then we also have leverage. So we have an adaptive platform that's going to help instructors leverage that extra time to put these other activities together, even if they're online. We have active learning strategies in place that also could be adapted. If you're teaching a class and you have experience with this, you can also adapt that to another class, even if it's for majors. And also, I have a great group of trained instructional assistants that I spend a lot of time mentoring them. Some of them were my students in Bio 100, some of them were my students in Bio 340 genetics. And we have a very large group of people that they're also embedded in making the rest of the students succeed in class. And this is about, these are students that we're helping in the last at least 3 years. Many of them stay with me for a long time and they graduate. Now they're even in med school. And it's nice to see them grow as individuals from being a student in the class to the moment they leave at AU and they go to grad school, or they start their next chapter in their career. So this is thanks to them. It's not just me. Again, have these instructional A's and ATAs, my grad TAs that also stay with me. And thanks also to EdPlus, School of Life Sciences, University Design Institute, and Cookbooks for always, being there and giving excellent customer support when we need it. And with that, I would like to conclude my presentation, and it's time for questions. Thank you.
We do have a lot of questions. So maybe some people are kind of asking now that we are in COVID days, how will you actually adjust your course in such a way that you're leveraging social distancing and those types of things, or do you have plans to redo this course such that it's fully online from beginning to end? So what are your thoughts in terms of, what the fall might look like in terms of this type of course, the Biology 100?
So that's a great question. I think when we have to switch from in-person to online, make us, at least in my opinion, we have to be creative, right? We have to adapt this class. Now it's going to be, what about the active learning, which is what making the class so successful? When I did an experiment with the milk, I remember going to the grocery store, buying my different types of milk. I have my little strips at home. So I was like doing experiments with them. Again, all the things that I bring to the class, they're low cost, big impact. So I'm not working with fancy equipment. I'm not working with, things that they may be more difficult for them to find. And we have this idea that what if, we can create this low cost kit that we can send to the students so they can follow with the instructor, while we're doing those hands-on activities in person behind the camera with me, and then they can go to the breakout rooms and analyze the data as a group. So there's a lot of possibilities. And again, this is adaptive active. So I'm glad that I have the adaptive platform to help me free some of this time, and that allows me to think about my students' need. But that's a great question. So we're looking into adapting, some of these activities, and, hopefully try to see if we can prepare a kit for the students that we can send home. Because of course they cannot meet 450 students. That will be a big challenge. They will not be able to meet in person in a big auditorium like before.
Right. And will your course be offered in a fully online format in the fall, or will it also be a hybrid course, or both? Do you know at this point, or?
So we don't know at this point. We're still working. I think there's limits in the amount of students that could be together in a room and how big the room is. So we're still looking into the logistics, and I think every single institution is doing the same. So that's kind of like a work in progress. We have weekly meetings with our director, and we're working on that currently. So I don't have a straight answer for that question.
No, that's fine. I know a lot of schools are are going through this process too,
Yes.
across the courses. We also had a question because, your course is very interesting because you are leveraging adaptive courseware, specifically Cogbooks, and some people, I'm sure many people actually may not know what Cogbooks is. It is this really cool adaptive courseware product that many schools are leveraging so that students get opportunities to practice what they're learning in the context of the material that you need to provide. Could you tell us maybe a little bit more about, there was a question about, how often are students interacting with the courseware? Is it, kind of on a weekly basis, or is it stretched out over time more because it's, maybe based on different topics, so you weave it in as needed, or is this something that students are actively engaged with every week of the course?
So that's a great question, right? So we use Cogbooks. I think there was a grant that ASU had, and Cogbooks was the platform that was offered to us, and we have been working together for over 5 years. Even though also my genetics class that I teach, I said, you know what, I'm familiar with the with authoring platform. Can I just put my, make my course using Cogbooks? So I use that for Bio 100 and Bio 340, which is genetics for majors. Students, because these are pre-reading quizzes, there is a grade. It's kind of like the carrot, right? So the students know that if they answer the questions correctly, those points are going to be transferred, there will be part of their final grade. So there is an incentive for them to do their homework and to do it on time. They can open the textbook whenever they need it, but we see a spike during the weekends. Maybe because, they're also students, they're working. So Saturdays and Sundays, you see a lot of usage of the platform. The nice thing as well that I didn't mention is that on Monday mornings, I get a report from Cogbooks that tells me, okay, your students miss question 5, like the majority of them miss question 5. It went very smooth for this other one. So it kind of have like the pulse of the class without me digging into details. So it's a nice report that I have every morning. If I want to look into specific students, they also have this instructor platform that, okay, what happened to Kelvin? He's not coming to class. Is he doing his homework? So I can focus in a particular students and by looking at their answers and their interaction, if they went through the pages of the textbook, I can tell, okay, something's wrong with Kelvin. I'm sorry I put you on the spot, but it allows me to know, maybe I should reach out to him, or maybe I should contact advising to reach out, and we can put a plan together. So it allows me, at the macro level and then also at the individual level to have a better idea of my class. And, I love teaching, and I care about my students. I care about my instructional aides who are also students, helping these students succeed.
Yeah, no, that's a great example of how we can leverage our technology to find out, again, who, of our students who are struggling, what are some muddy points. I think earlier in your presentation, you talked about how you, provide maybe recorded videos to kind of help students with topics that they're struggling with, and being able to have the pulse of your course every day, every week is so important because, back in the day, right, you were just given a textbook, you come to lectures, and then, you wouldn't always know on an ongoing basis how well students were actually doing until they took the exam. And then it was, perhaps too late to intervene. Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
something that I keep telling my students since we moved online, because they were hesitant. They say, I don't know how to work a computer. I don't have a computer, and I guess you was very gracious because they were providing laptops to students that didn't have one, even ship them to another state if necessary. So I told them every single class, because we kept meeting synchronously. So I was trying to keep everything the same. So the class was on Mondays at 4:50, and then all the 6 recitations, I was there for the 6 recitations at their own time. The exam was at the time of the recitation, so nothing was changed. So everything was, the transition was very smooth, because they didn't have to change their schedule. They knew when to meet and what to expect, and group work, because that was since day one. But my message was always very clear to them in every single one of my classes: communication. Okay, communication. So I think they heard that, I don't know how many times in each classroom. It's like, if you have a problem, you need to let me know. And that actually worked really well. They will let me know if something was happening, if they were, the childcare, suddenly was interrupted, or they lost their job. So they will let me know those things. And then, as an instructor, okay, well, you need extra time. Doesn't cost me a lot just to tell them, you have 48 hours more to submit your assignment. It's just a couple buttons and 30 seconds of my time. But if I don't know about those issues, how I would not be able to help them. So communication is very important, especially right now, with this outbreak. And it's also kind of like the message that I send to my students online for Bio 340. Communication, communication. And they know that anything happens, I'm the first person that they will let me know. And of course, for exams, they need to, provide a PDF proof that they went to the doctor, etc. But at least they're letting me know, and I'm aware of the situation.
Yeah, no, that's what you said about communication is so important. There was a question, for example, about expectations. Pamela Livingood, for example, said, well, how do you get students even prepared for a flipped classroom model? Because she is kind of talking about how in many cases students come unprepared for the on-site portion, right? To do those active learning experiences in class with you. And so I'm assuming that, again, being very clear about your expectations has really helped you to prepare students for the hybrid model. And then, of course, moving your course fully online, potentially starting this fall, communication will be even more important, because you're not going to physically see them.
So that's actually very interesting, because in my case, the quizzes, those are pre-reading quizzes, are due on Sunday. So when I get the students on Monday, they already have read a chapter, right? Because if they don't submit their quizzes by Sunday, they will be missing points towards their final grade. Again, the carrot at the end. So it's on their best interest that they attempt the quizzes and they have an idea of the topic that we will be covering during the rest of the week. So, gotcha. And they know that since day one, even since the first day I see them, there's already communication and telling, you have to do this before coming to class, because this is the topic that we're going to be covering this week.
Right. Well, Susan, I'm sorry, our time is just about up for today. I mean, I think we probably could go on for another couple hours, because I think, teaching an online course or teaching a science course, whether it's in a flipped classroom or online, can be challenging. I think there are lots of folks who are trying to find the right ways to teach science online, and it's great that you've provided us an excellent example of how to do that and do it well. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to share your good practices with us. So thanks again.
Thank you, and please feel free to reach me through email if necessary. Okay. Thank you, Calvin.
That's great. No, thank you, and thanks everyone for joining. Please enjoy the rest of the event. More sessions that are coming up in the next half hour. But take a break. Stretch. Get a snack, and then join us for more sessions here at Remote. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.